Hello and welcome to Maritime Reader. The ocean is one of the vital gifts of God to man. It offers various ecosystem services that enable human existence on Earth. Covering about 1/3 of the Earth's surface, the ocean or the marine environment helps in climate regulation, providing supporting services and cultural services apart from its provision of food and medical resources. Africa's pact in the 2025 World Maritime Day theme, Our Ocean, Our Obligation, Our Opportunity, are some of the issues that will be on the front burner on today's show. I am Norma Obiaswala. Nigeria stands to gain so much by embracing opportunities in the blue economy, as it offers an avenue for economic diversification away from over-reliance on crude oil. The fisheries and aquaculture sector holds immense potential for Nigeria's economic development. With a coastline stretching over 853 kilometers, 220 nautical miles, Nigeria possesses abundant fishery resources. However, due to limited infrastructure, outdated fishing techniques, and inadequate regulatory frameworks, Nigeria's fishery sector remains largely underdeveloped. Therefore, investing in modern fishing technologies, improving infrastructure, and implementing effective regulations, Nigeria can significantly increase its fish production both for domestic consumption and export. This would not only boost the economy but enhance food security and alleviate poverty in coastal communities. Before we get further into today's lineup on the program, let's find out the latest in maritime news.
Nigeria's Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Adeboyega Oyetola, has raised the alarm over the growing threats facing the world's oceans, from pollution and overfishing to climate change and neglect. Speaking in Lagos at the 2025 World Maritime Day celebration, he described the ocean as our greatest shared resource, producing more than half of the Earth's oxygen, feeding billions, and carrying over 80% of global trade. This year's theme, Our Ocean, Our Obligation, Our Opportunity, is, according to the minister, both timely and compelling. He stressed that Nigerians must see themselves as stewards of the ocean, not exploiters, by enforcing sustainable fishing practices, tackling marine pollution, safeguarding biodiversity, and improving maritime safety. Also speaking, the Director General of NIMASA, Dayo Mobereola, warned that the global blue economy is hampered by a massive $150 billion funding gap. He called for a just and equitable transition to net zero emissions for Africa and other vulnerable regions, while unveiling Nigeria's marine litter and plastic action plan to tackle the plastic waste crisis. Mobereola also noted the success of Nigeria's Deep Blue project, which he described as a game changer in tackling maritime insecurity in the Gulf of Guinea. Meanwhile, in Apapa, the Nigerian Customs Service is set to transform operations at the nation's busiest port. The Apapa Customs Command announced that new fixed scanners now being installed will be able to screen up to 200 containers every hour, a major leap for trade efficiency. Customs Area Comptroller Oluwadari Oshoba explained that 3 scanners are being deployed at the quayside, supported by a mobile backup unit. The installation, expected to be completed in 45 days, will use dual-energy X-ray technology, which can produce high-resolution images, detect contraband and hazardous materials, and even integrate with license plate recognition and RFID systems. Oshoba said the technology will drastically cut down delays in cargo checks, reduce smuggling risks, and boost government revenue, while also training officers and ICT staff for long-term sustainability. He warned importers and exporters against concealment and false declarations, stressing that with these scanners, nothing will go undetected. The upgrades mark a significant step towards making Nigeria's ports more secure, more efficient, and better aligned with global best practices, a crucial boost for trade facilitation and economic growth.
Welcome back if you are just joining us. This is Maritime Radar, the World Maritime Day theme for 2025. Our ocean, our obligation, our opportunity reflects the ocean's vital role in the world economy, with more than 80% of global trade transported by sea. The ocean is a source of job and food for millions of people, a home for countless marine species, and a regulator of the planet's climate, mitigating the impacts of climate change. As the largest sector operating in the ocean space, shipping has a central role to play in the protection of the marine environment and management of ocean resources. IMO's long-standing commitment on this issue is evident in the robust global regulatory framework supporting cleaner, safer seas and a growing portfolio of technical assistance initiatives to support ocean protection in 176 member states. The theme emphasizes the link to wider global efforts to protect the ocean, including the conclusion of UN agreement on the conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity of areas beyond national jurisdiction, the negotiation of a new instrument to address plastic pollution. The theme will allow all stakeholders to showcase the deep interconnection of shipping and IMO in the ocean space, highlighting the importance of collaboration and coordination to ensure the sustainable and safe use of ocean resources. In this conversation with Dr. Olalekan Elegbede, a Blue Economy expert and advisory member, Ocean Enterprise Initiative, Marine Technology Society, USA, shares on the World Maritime Day theme, its implications, challenges, and opportunities for Africa, blue carbon, inclusivity, and the required policy and institutional framework that will ensure the potentials of the ocean resources are fully harnessed. This and many more after the short break. Please stay with us. Hello, Dr. Elegbede. It's good to have you join us on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, so let's get right into it, the conversation. Looking at the 2025 World Maritime Day theme, our ocean, our obligation, our opportunity. This has, you agree with me that this has a global significance. So talk to us. What is the implication, challenges, and opportunities for Africa? And you may also narrow it down to Nigeria.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's an opportunity. It's an honor to be here to be able to talk about the ocean. Yeah, absolutely. The 2025 World Maritime Day theme, which is our ocean, our obligation, and our opportunity, is very important because Africa, owns nearly more than 30 coastal and island states, with over 90% of its import and export moving by sea. So the implication is that Africa's future's prosperity is directly tied to how we treat our oceans. And I can tell you that the challenges are clear. There are issues surrounding illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, that is IUU, which cost, for example, the West African alone about $2.3 billion every year. We still have issues around pollution that result from oil spills, for example, in the Niger Delta, to plastic waste in Lagos, which undermines livelihoods, weak enforcement, which is affecting our maritime resources and is making it to be vulnerable. But the opportunities are equally large. Nigeria's marine and blue economy sector, if properly harnessed, could contribute to more than $20 billion annually through shipping, through fishing, tourism, offshore energy, and emerging markets like the blue carbon credits. The ocean is not just water, it's wealth. And if we see it as an obligation to protect it, to regulate it, to include the vulnerables, to include women, youth in making decisions, then we can transform it. And, I can tell you that it will be an opportunity for job creation, food security, and climate resilience.
Okay, so drawing from what you've said now and looking at the 10-year policy of the marine and blue economy ministry. Do you see any implementation gap? And how do you think we can balance growth and sustainability?
Yeah, I have read the policy document, and I see the implementation plan, but there is no detailed inclusiveness in how resources can be harnessed and can be getting to the local person in the country. The Nigerian 10-year marine and blue economy policy is ambitious. Yeah, it talks about growing shipping, aquaculture, coastal tourism, and even blue carbon. But I can tell you that the gap is still in the implementation. Now, we often have several policies on paper, but weak coordination, underfunded agencies, poor enforcement, slow progress. Blue economy is not just about wealth. I can see in some of those reports that the government is saying that foreign investors should come. It's not about resources, making wealth. It's about managing those wealth, implementing them accordingly, and ensuring that all stakeholders are fully involved, especially the science community, the youth, the women, and others. So balancing growth and sustainability also means avoiding the oily mistakes of overexploitations. You understand? Growth should not come at the expense of the ecosystem. A good example is cyclists, and which tied ocean protection to economic returns through its blue bonds, in which it raises about $15 million to fund sustainable fisheries. Nigeria can replicate this by blending finance, public-private partnership, and community-based enforcement, which is key. Nigeria is still shying away from active, community, inclusive, organic-based enforcement. So if we integrate technology, and we can as well integrate low-cost technology.
Taking one of the things you said. Taking from one of the things you said, how do you think Nigeria can position itself to be able to harness the potentials that is in the fishing sector?
Nigeria has over 200 species and an annual demand of about 3.6 million metric tons. Yet we produce barely half of that. So to harness these potentials, we need to invest in technology, to invest more in cold chain storage, and as well feed innovation. Then promoting value chain value addition. So instead of just catching fish, we need to process, package more, and export. Look at, for example, Iceland. For example, Iceland is doing a lot in this. They try to manage the waste from the caught fish, the skin, the oil, the bones, all this to create revenue. So we can do all this, and I can tell you, fisheries is not just about catching fish, it's about catching jobs, revenue, and catching food security.
Still in the catching jobs or creating jobs. In Nigeria, how do you think that the blue carbon projects can create jobs and support coastal livelihood that is looking at fishing, looking at ecotourism, and looking at carbon credits, which you also mentioned earlier?
Yeah. So I can say that Nigeria, as a country with abundant resources. Now, blue carbon projects, it's about protecting and restoring mangrove, wetland, and the rest. These are game changers for Nigeria. But why? Why am I saying this? Because this can help us to tackle climate change and create jobs at the same time. Take mangroves, for example. Nigeria has the largest mangrove forest in Africa. It is important to restore and conserve these resources, then to be able to now use it to attract global carbon credit financing, which our communities can earn by protecting their ecosystem. That money goes directly into the livelihood of the people. So now, how does this connect to jobs? for fishing now. Healthy mangroves are natural nurseries for shrimps and fish. So when mangroves are restored, fish stocks rebound and local fishers catch more sustainably. Then ecotourism, for example, there are coastal boundaries. So the coastal walks, the bird watching, the mangrove stores can create jobs for youth and women. So the community can be paid to keep mangroves standing. Like Kenya, the Mekoko Pamoja project in Kenya, which is generating income for local schools and healthcare by selling different mangroves carbon credit on the global market. So Nigeria can scale a similar model across the Niger Delta and the Lagos creeks. So with this, it's a beautiful way of managing our resources, getting more income, and as well creating more sustainability forms for the present situation and the future.
We'll be looking at the models to be able to finance the blue carbon, but that will be after the short break. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Maritime Radio, and I still have with me Dr. Olalekan Elegbede. He is a blue economy expert. Before we went on that break, I said we'll be looking at the financing models Nigeria can use to monetize the blue carbon. Then what recommendations do you have to make concerning all that you've said so far?
Yes, thank you so much for that. Yeah, it's important to recommend, and another thing is to follow those recommendations. Yes, we talk about financing, and we know financing is the heart of making blue carbon real. Now, Nigeria cannot just depend on the government budget. I've always said it at several fora. The government is trying its best. We need to bring up other private funds. So we need innovative models.
How will government begin to drive this collaboration with private sector to ensure this, or to be able to bring this to fore?
Yes, so I was talking about that. So all of it is blue bonds. So Nigeria can issue sovereign or state-backed bonds that is tied to marine protections. Like, for example, in Cyclist, where they raised about $50 million through a blue bond for sustainable fisheries. It's also happened in Belize, where they restructured about $553 million of debt into ocean conservation. Nigeria can explore this. The aspect of carbon credit markets too. We can bring this, we can bring restoration from mangroves to generate verifiable carbon credits under the global standard like the Vera. And also the public-private partnership. Banks, oil companies, and international donors can come together and co-fund restoration with communities. For example, we have Total Energy, which could finance mangrove projects as part of their net zero pledges, while communities will still benefit from job creation and carbon revenue. The idea is to create a blended finance model. And what will this do? It's going to help to bring several billions of dollars annually to the purse of the government, and everybody will be all right.
Okay, so what do you think? What's the task before the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy to harness all you've said and be able to implement it and ensure that it gets the traction or the impact it has in the sector?
Yes, I've always talked about this severally, that we need a clear, inclusive implementation model. In that policy document, the implementation model is there, but it's not real practical and highly inclusive. So the task before the ministry is very clear. It should move beyond policy papers to action, real action, not just saying we need investors, we need private sectors to come and bring money. No, it's about proper coordination. Like NIMASA should work with NIMASA, Newman, the Nesral, all of these agencies should work together down to local government. I've not seen where it's written that local government should be actively involved in the policy. Then also the aspect of data technology. So we need to see how we can work around ocean data. Now, without ocean without reliable data is blind. So we should see how we can invest more in satellite monitoring, digital traceability for fish, like carbon mapping for mangroves, and also inclusive partnership. Government should not alone just do it. They must bring private sector, all the private sector, down to SMEs, the big organizations and the small organizations, and the coastal communities, including international partners, to be able to harness all this together. You know, if the ministry focuses on these opportunities, I can tell you, Nigeria will not just be a giant in Africa, will be a small lord in the continent in terms of blue economy.
Talk us through how women, youth, and indigenous fishing communities can be included in decision making for making these blue carbon projects a reality.
Yeah, I would like to say that inclusivity is not just what we say; it has its own framework. It's not inclusion is not charity; it's a strategy. The people we're talking about, women, youth, and indigenous communities, are expected to be in the front line in the aspect of stewardship and management of these coastal resources. And for example, women in Nigeria, over 70% of the fish processing and marketing is handled by women, telling you that they have huge population in this regard. So if they are not in making decisions, to just be a mixed reality. So giving them the access to proper microfinance, zero interest microfinance, and cooperatives will make things to be easier. The youth, for example, the blue economy cannot succeed without young people. So training coastal youths in agriculture, ecotourism, and carbon monitoring will create more jobs and reduce migration pressures. The indigenous community, for example, these people have historic, traditional knowledge of these resources, the mangroves, the coastal resources, and the ocean, including management of tides and the breeding of these fishes. So inclusion is not just about fairness, it's about effectiveness. And without them, blue carbon will still remain a theory, and blue economy exploration will still remain a theory.
Okay, so what do you think now is the missing link? Is it our laws or the implementation of these laws? So what policy and institutional framework, what regional and global cooperation, monitoring and enforcement that do you think will ensure full harnessing the potentials of our ocean resources, looking at Africa as a whole?
Looking at the situation that we have in Nigeria, for example, it's important to understand that harnessing this potential for Nigeria is key, and implementation situations are also vital. So for Nigeria, I think we need to see that it's both managing the law and implementation, because many African countries still look upon the country. And I would like to say that, number one, the country needs to look beyond just making money. We need to see how we can properly implement this policy. Then secondly, to see how we can create innovative, sustainable bonds, sustainable strategies where everyone will be on board. Remember the slogan of the decade, which talks about leaving no one behind. We just say it by mouth, but we do not follow. So we need to bring all these things in play. And lastly, I would like to say that Nigeria needs to strategize, have a forecast of how the sections of the blue economy can individually be independent and likewise can connect and support one another, thereby solving our problems. Because now everyone is talking about net zero, everyone is talking about climate change issues. So we need to see how we can use all these aspects to tackle the different problems that we have, ranging from poverty issues, climate change issues, down to scientific issues, because our scientists are struggling to find resources to do research. And when science come on board, it's going to pave way for innovations and outcomes which will solve problems in the society. So I would like to say that our government needs to think outside the box, see more of implementation, inclusion, and bringing innovative ways of bringing these resources together to be able to solve our problems.
Okay, before I let you go, if you can, in 30 seconds, Africa's Pact, looking at the World Maritime Day theme for this year, our ocean, our obligation, and our opportunity. So what is Africa's Pact in this, if you can, in 30 seconds?
Yes, Africa's Pact is to see ourselves as a global leader, not a dependent entity. Africa is still at the point of depending on other countries. So we need to see how we can sit down, harmonize our resources, our God-given resources, and see how we can implement them without embezzlement, without corruption, and so that our people, our population, our community can be effective and they can be independent. But when people are independent, it will even help the government. Like I gave a situation where the people in the community, in some of the developed countries, are the one helping the government. We need to see how we can create pathways whereby individuals will be able to think to support the government.
And thoughts, I hope and I pray that the recommendations that you've made here will go a long way in driving the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy and, of course, our ocean resources for sustainability and economic growth. It's been Dr. Olalekan Elegbede. He is a blue economy expert. He's also the advisory member, Ocean Enterprise Initiative, Marine Technology Society, USA. Thank you very much for your time and thoughts on the show. We really appreciate it. And that's our show this week. I hope this week's conversation and recommendations will help reposition Africa to tap into the huge potentials her ocean offers for economic growth. Join us every week on Maritime Radar to explore potentials that will ensure the development of the maritime sector in Africa. You can also expect the latest in global and local maritime news plus industry insights right here. I am Norma Obiaswala. Many thanks for your time and see you again next week.